All righty. Come on in, stay a while. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get coached up once again with another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show. You might be watching us on DBTV, a first of its kind national and international network platform with over 300 million households able to view us. We see that on DBTV Monday through Fridays at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, or you might be seeing us on CSTV or the Rewind Sports 60 networks. I appreciate you tuning us for your viewing options. If you're listening to us in podcast form today, my man Jeff Griffin and I say turn that knob up. We're going to put that flavor in your ear for about 55 minutes, and my man has a powerful message for you. Hey, please like and follow the Coach Scott Field Show on Facebook, and also smash that subscribe button on our YouTube channel for outstanding guests and content. Without further ado, this handsome man sitting next to me right now, my friend and outstanding person, Mr. Jeff Griffin. Jeff, how are you today, brother?
Oh my goodness, coach. I am doing fantastic. In fact, if I had an introduction like that every time I came on air or I went on stage, man, life would be easy. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm telling you, it is reciprocal here. It's reciprocated.
Let me tell you something. I haven't even got started yet because, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little something about this man because he's too humble to tell you. Every time I'm around this unbelievable spirit, his energy, his aura, high character, every time I'm around him or near him, I am a better person because he just exudes confidence. His mindset, his servant heart is second to none. And Jeff, I can't thank you enough for just taking time from your schedule because I know you've got 1,000 things going on, but just to have you on the show to share your story, share your insights, share your expertise. I mean, we're all going to be better versions of ourselves.
Well, coach, thank you. I appreciate that. I always say that the greatest men and women of history are men of service. And you're a great man. So thank you for all you do. And so anyway, I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to crushing it, killing it, and sharing some things with you and your guests here.
Let me tell you something. Our viewers are going to be empowered like no other, and inspiration doesn't even do it justice. Do you see this wristband that I've got on? It's the I'm Possible wristband that you gave me a couple years ago when I had the book I'm Possible right here by Jeff Griffin. You didn't even know I was going to bring that up today, did you?
No. I got my copy too, man.
Oh,
love it.
This thing, Jeff, please tell people where they can get a copy of this book because you take people on this path in this book where, here on the I'm Possible, on the cover, it says desire, dream, and do. And you take people from base camp to the mountaintop with this journey, but tell them where they can get an unbelievable, uplifting copy of this book.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, if you go to griffinmotivation.com, Griffin, like the mythical beast, half lion, half eagle. I try to convince my wife that I'm a mythical beast, and she's like, "You're neither. You're neither a beast nor mythical." And I'm like, "I once was." But so griffinmotivation.com.
You and I both know you're a sexy beast, so come on and bring it.
Absolutely, man. So if you go to griffinmotivation.com and you put in, if you go to the shop button and you buy the I'm Possible, I don't know where it is. I've got another one called Endless Possibilities, the 90-day recipe for world record results.
Wow.
And if you pick both of those, if you get 2 books, you can get 2 I'm Possible, 2 Endless, 4, whatever. If you get 2 books, shipping is free. And so to make it even better, if you put in the coupon code LOVE, LOVE, we will give you a little love and knock off 50% of your purchase. So wow. That is buy one, get one free. Basically, if you get 2, it is free shipping. So anyway, for you and your listeners, that is what we're going to do. And I'm telling you, I truly believe that if you will implement those mile markers that we have in that book. I don't call them chapters, I call them mile markers.
That's right.
Implement those invitations at the end of each mile marker, you will be able to climb your own mountains. In fact, in YouTube, if you look up Mountains to Climb by Jeff Griffin, don't look at it yet. Listen to the story first, and then go look at the YouTube video there. But hopefully that will inspire you to get up out of your chair, get up out of your seat, get up out of wherever it is that you're at, and go tackle your dreams. I call them your Everests. What are your Everests? What are those dreams that you just want to go and accomplish and you want to go and tackle? Because I really do believe that those principles are found in that book.
I'm going to set that thing up right there so they see it again. Again, I'm possible by our guest today, Jeff Griffin. I'm honored to be able to call you friend. And, you know, we've shared lunches together. We've gotten to know each other through the years. Motivational, inspirational, empowering, just the way that you are not just the man of spirit, but yet you have this energy about you. But tell everybody a little bit of the story of how you became, you know, incapacitated and put in a wheelchair years ago. So give people a snippet of that.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, this coach, every time I go on stage, I speak all over the world. And every time I go on stage, I address the elephant in the room as I come rolling out on stage. And that elephant is how good looking I am.
Yes, sir.
No, I'm just joking. I can say that because I know that's not true. But, you know, I come rolling out on stage and people can see that I'm in a wheelchair. And I always have fun with them. I'm like, listen, I am in a wheelchair. And if you didn't notice that, you have more problems than I do. And people don't know if they should laugh or if they should cry. And anyways, with this PC world that we're in right now, you know, sometimes we don't know how to interact with each other. Or with people who have disabilities or who have challenges and problems, because coach, you know as well as I do that every single one of us have problems. We have challenges. The problem isn't the problem. And again, I don't want to diminish your problem or the listener's problems by saying that the problem isn't the problem, because we all have problems. And I've also learned too over these years that all pain hurts, no matter the size. So I don't want to diminish anybody's problems here, anybody's challenges. And I've been in a chair for over 27 years. I've been in a chair longer than I have out of a chair. And so, but I've also learned too, coach, that every problem under the sun has a solution or it has none. If there be one, hurry and find it. If there be none, never mind it. And so we spend way too much time on the problems that we have in our lives and not enough time on the solutions. And I really do believe that the solutions are found in that book that you've just offered to your listeners. And if you don't want to go to my website, you can go to Amazon. It's there as well, but you won't get as good a deal as you would on my website there. But again, going back to this idea of rolling out on stage, you know, I address the elephant in the room that I'm in a wheelchair, and your listeners can't see it. Your viewers can't see it. You know, I'm sitting here, you know, when we're speaking eye to eye and we're having a great conversation, but I wasn't always in a wheelchair. I wasn't always somebody who is 4'7". I went from 6'1" to 4'7" overnight. And I've learned to look at things different. And what I've learned is that different isn't always better, but better is always different. And so if we want to make things better, we're going to have to think different.
Yeah.
And so that's my message to the world is, you know, I come out and I address the elephant in the stage. I'm paralyzed. I'm in a wheelchair. I was given a 0% chance of ever walking, standing, moving my legs again. The doctors gave me a life sentence to live life from a chair. You can imagine from a 21-year-old whose whole identity was wrapped up in his physicality, you know, just having that taken away from him, my world was turned upside down. I entered into that syrupy, sticky sun of self-pity. And you know what? I was shaking my fist at God. I was angry. And there were some things where I was like, oh man, why? You know, I was having a huge, huge pity party. And so, but there was a question. There was a question that was asked by a prisoner in the hospital that set me free from my prison, that set me free from that syrupy, sticky son of self-pity, that opened up the door and allowed me to come through and see things different. You know, the flip was switched, or the switch was flipped. My dyslexia is coming in, and and I was able to look at things differently. But anyways, so I don't get ahead of myself. Coming back to this idea of challenges, you know, I come rolling out on the stage, and I address the fact that I've been given a 0% chance of ever standing, walking, and moving my legs again. A life sentence for being in a chair. I'm paralyzed from the waist down. People can see my paralysis. People if they have a mind, they know exactly what's going on here. I cannot walk. And so what I've learned, Coach, is that I may be physically paralyzed, but I believe most of us, if not all of us, are paralyzed from the demons of doubt, fear, and complacency.
Amen. Amen.
And that's the message that I want to get out to the world. I want to get out to the world that, listen, there's some solutions out there. As long as you just, you know, flip the switch, stop looking at your challenges, stop looking at your problems, stop looking at the things that you can't do, flip the switch and start looking at the things that you can do. And that is the first step there, is to really change your mindset, to believe that you can climb your mountains, that you can accomplish your Everests, that you can start to dream again, that you can start to open up those floodgates of imagination and dream new dreams in high definition. And it allows you to begin, you know, weaving your own tapestry of dreams that are going to hang on somebody else's social media wall.
Yes.
And that's what we want to do here, is we want to help people identify their dreams, establish some real definite desires, and we can do that, and then give some skills and tools to help them accomplish that, to climb their own mountains and to get up out of their chair. And so that is what I get to do. I get to go around the world and I get to share this message of, how do you get up out of your chair? How do you overcome your mental paralysis? How do you move forward? And how do you accomplish those things that are singing inside your soul?
Jeff, I love that, because I feel like there are so many individuals, and you touched on it, that have a mental paralysis of self-doubt, of self-pity, of negativity, you know, a stream of toxicity that comes in, where it's almost like they listen to themselves too much and don't talk to themselves enough, meaning they don't give themselves enough positive affirmation. They dwell on the negativity and everything that could go wrong instead of focusing on what could go right. And I feel like your book is that pathway and a blueprint to change that mindset, to go from, yes, I've been told I'm in a wheelchair. You can see physically I'm in a wheelchair. Doctors have told me I'm never going to be able to walk again. And yet you get out and you accomplish so many things that even able-bodied people are not able to accomplish, because they believe in their self-negativity and their self-doubt and just their low self-esteem, and they start believing on everything that can go wrong instead of what can go well for them.
No, absolutely. I love it. And you're absolutely right. Self-sabotage is is the number one thing that you know, men especially do. They're like, yeah, things are going so well, I gotta sabotage this. This is not what I'm used to. This is not what's happening here. So I got to make some things up, light some fires, do some things, destroy the bridge that's helping me cross this gap that's getting me to the other side. Self-sabotage, self-doubt, self-loathing, you know, and then just allowing that fear to creep in. You know, I'm like, you let that demon of doubt, fear, and complacency, you know, sneak in just a small little crack, and it just starts to multiply and starts to occupy and just does not leave.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so absolutely. But here's the deal. I want people to know that, you know, it's a journey of 1,000 miles begins with what?
One step, baby.
One step. Absolutely. And so a lot of people, you know, look at what I've accomplished. And again, I look at what you've accomplished and all the greats out there that have accomplished so well. And, you look back and you're just like, wow, I did that. Really? And so again, it's focusing on what you can do instead of what you can't do. And what I always say too is, Confucius says that a man cannot consume an elephant in one bite.
That's right.
I don't know who eats elephants, but
Yeah.
and so I'm like, I'm going to change that. I'm going to make it a Griffinism, right? I'm like, a man cannot consume a cow in one bite. And so your listeners who are listening right now, who may have tried and have failed, who have, set out for their adventure and have got sidetracked, or, they've hit roadblocks or setbacks and challenges they can't overcome, or they think they couldn't overcome. I want you to understand that yard by yard is hard, but inch by inch is a cinch.
Oh, there's a Griffinism right there. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't consume the whole cow in one bite. And so we've got to understand what's going on here. And one thing I've learned along this process, now understand that it didn't come overnight. These successes didn't come overnight. My jersey behind me didn't happen overnight. Being able to, get out there and play on the big stage, world stage in the Paralympics in Athens, Greece. My dream was to play on the big stage as a little kid down at BYU. There at Lavelle Edgeworth Stadium as a wide receiver. That was my dream when I was a little kid. And I've learned some things along that journey. And I hope to share with you a few things of starting when in my infancy with, that dream of playing football as a kid and moving forward. But I just want to make this super, super clear. There are 5 things. There are 5 things that come with the possibility principle that's found in the book. The possibility principle, or the P squared mindset. The possibility principle is going to help you match up your dreams with your desires and make sure that they are definite, they're true, deliberate, that you actually know what you want. And when that happens, boom, the floodgates of imagination open up and you start to live life. You start to live life in color. You start to smell things and see things that you've never experienced before. And all 6 senses are coming into play. Some people are like, what, 6? What? Yes, all 6 senses start coming into play. And so that's the first thing that happens with this possibility principle, or this P squared mindset. The other thing is, just shout it out here, and your listeners can maybe text it or type it in there, or your viewers or whatnot. But again, I'm be quiet here after I ask the question. But Coach, what does the world teach us is the opposite of success?
Failure.
Failure, right? They say that the opposite of success is failure. And so here's the deal. We have this mindset like, okay, well, I don't want to fail. I want to succeed. So if I'm going to succeed, then I can't fail. And so we do everything to not fail. Our focus is on the failing or not failing. And in fact, that's something that I learned as a receiver. In high school, I'm like, I wanted to play football in college. When I was a little kid, I wanted to play football in college. That was my dream. I carried that ball with me everywhere I went. I played it in the springtime. I played it in the summertime. I played it in the wintertime. We drew up plays on the chest, and I'm see that patch of powder. Go throw it over there. And if I got there before the ball, then I'd slow down just so I could lay out and catch the ball, hit the ground, and it comes up, and I come back with my moon boots, so I'm tromping through the snow, throw the ball to the quarterback again, like, let's do it again. I love that. That was the song that sang to my soul. Now I get it, Coach, that not everybody's dream is to play football in college, or to play football, or to play basketball, or whatever it might be, to be in the Paralympics, or to be in the Olympics, or whatever it might be. But I do know this, Coach, every single one of us has a song that sings to our soul. And if we have stopped listening to that song, or if we've stopped orchestrating the song that could be the most sweetest sound to our souls and to us and to other people out there who we have the ability to reach and hit, we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're doing the world a disservice, because they need to hear the music that is inside your soul. They need to hear the music that is going to be played when you play all out, when you play to the top. But the problem is we get caught up with this idea of, I don't want to fail. And so when I in high school, I was like, let's do this. Everything that was thrown to me, I caught. I'm just catching everything. It doesn't matter. And during practice when they put the balls in the baseball machine, one of the coaches put it up to like 87 miles per hour, like, and like, I'm like, no big deal. I'm like, I got a face mask. Who cares? I'm like, nothing's going to happen. I'd catch it. Everyone else would drop it. But when I got to college, I was so afraid to fail, or I wanted to succeed so much that I in my mind, I'm like, okay, I can't fail. I can't drop the ball. I can't stumble in my routes. I was focusing on the wrong thing. I'm like, don't drop the ball. Don't drop the ball. Don't drop the ball. Don't drop the ball. So what did I do?
Drop the ball. Paralysis of overanalysis.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I've learned is where our focus goes, our energy flows. And so this idea of, okay, well, don't drop the ball, don't drop the ball, don't drop the ball. I was thinking about not dropping the ball, when in reality, what did I really want?
You just wanted to catch the ball, make
I
the
wanted
play.
to catch the ball. And so instead of thinking about, oh, don't drop the ball, I should have started thinking about catch the ball, catch the ball, catch the ball, catch the ball, catch the ball. So in high school, I didn't think about dropping. I'm like, I catch everything. In college, I'm like, I don't want to drop anything. And then it was just planted, and it just expanded and exploded, and it was just amazing. And so going back to this idea, this possibility principle that you guys can have inside that book, and that possibility principle helps you match up your dreams with your desires. That possibility principle teaches you what success really is and what failure is or is not. And I want your listeners to understand this simple principle. Give yourself permission to fail.
Amen.
Give yourself permission to fail, especially when you're learning something new. Because I've never met anybody who hasn't failed their way to success.
That's right.
You had a guest on a couple months ago. I don't know when it was, but one of my good teammates, Steve Serio.
Yes.
The Paralympic basketball team. He and I would do the drills together back in 2004 when he was a young pup. And, I was an older gentleman back then. Maybe I wouldn't say older gentleman, because what does that make me now? But Serio didn't become Steve Serio on the Paralympic team overnight. Michael Jordan doesn't become Michael Jordan overnight. LeBron James isn't LeBron James overnight.
That's right.
They have failed their way to success, and they've done it a little bit quicker than other people. But so that possibility principle, teaches you what success is, what failure isn't, and give yourself permission to fail, because failures at first are triumphs at last, as long as you just don't quit.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Griffin, husband, father, just success story, motivational speaker, corporate speaker, author of the book, I'm Possible, and others, sharing, the principles of that mindset to help you overcome mental paralysis. So, Jeff, I'm going to continue to just give you the platform and continue to speak. But man, this is just outstanding nuggets here.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. Thank you, Coach. And again, so there's 5 things that come from this possibility principle. And I understand that I didn't always have this P squared mindset. People ask me, were you always this optimistic? Were you always this happy? Were you always this, X, Y, and Z, right? In fact, sometimes my wife tells me, hey, hon, bring it down a notch. And I made the mistake, Coach, by saying, hey, hon, bring it up a notch.
Been there, done that. Oops. We failed forward.
Absolutely. I'm like, okay, note to self, don't tell my wife to bring it up a notch. But that wasn't always the case. I wasn't always this optimistic. I wasn't this believing. I didn't have this much courage and this much faith and this much hope. The possibility principle teaches us that which we persist in doing becomes easier for us to do. I stole that from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And it's just so simple. It really is. And there's a little activity that you can do in the introduction of that book that really just illustrates and brings that principle home. And so this idea of, okay, well, that which we persist in doing becomes easier for us to do. Period. So if we continue to quit, it's going to be easier for us to quit. If we continue to doubt, it's going to be easier for us to doubt. If we continue to be negative or pessimistic or introverted or whatever it is that we don't want to be, or maybe that is what you want to be, the more we do it, the easier it becomes for us to do.
Mm.
And so we've got to somehow flip the switch and realize, what is it that we really want? What is it that I really want? And a lot of your listeners are out there thinking, I don't know what I want. Because as human beings, we don't know what we want. The majority of us know what we don't want, but very few of us know what we want. Very few of us have that song that is singing so loud that they ignore the critics. Because I kept on having people tell me all the reasons why I couldn't play football. They're like, Griff, you can't play football in college. Like, you're too short. And the other people are like, Griff, you can't play football in college. You're too slow. Some people said I couldn't play football in college because I was too white. Now I get it, right? You know,
right.
In today's world, you're like, you can't even say that. But back then, too short, too slow, too white. I'm like, I get that. But it didn't matter, because I didn't realize at the time that most people, that we as individuals, we base other people's possibilities on our limitations.
That's powerful.
Or better said, other people base our possibilities on their limitations.
That's right.
So if you're listening to the critics, if you're listening to those around you saying what you can and can't do, if you're not listening to yourself, then that's the problem. And I love what you mentioned at the beginning of this. It was just so powerful. Just like you just got to stop. You got to stop listening to that critic. And start talking to yourself. I love that. You're like, you got to start talking to yourself instead of listening to yourself. And when I caught that, I'm like, oh, absolutely. Because that self-doubt, that all that stuff that's happening there, we keep telling ourselves. And the scary thing is, Coach, is we've got all those naysayers and those boo birds out there telling us what we can and can't do. And the scariest thing is when that harshest critic is ourselves.
Yep.
And so here we are, we're taking this critic with us everywhere we go, when we practice, when we prepare, when we start to dream, when we start to do all these things, you know, we bring that critic with us, and we just got to put it on the wayside, leave it. Tell them, yeah, I love this, you know, when doubt and fear come knocking, and they most certainly will, you tell them to go to hell where they belong.
There you go. I like that. Yes.
And so you've got to start talking to yourself in a way that is uplifting, that is building, that is creative, that is supportive. It's, you know, but the thing is if you don't know what you want, then you can't talk to yourself. So that's key. Number one is to find out what you want. Dream. And that's why in my book, you know, desire, dream, do. What comes first, the dream or the desire? The desire or the dream? And I'm like, well, it doesn't sound as good, dream, desire, do. So I'm like, desire, dream, and do. And so, but the thing is that dream, what is your dream? What do you want to do? What do you want to become? And for me, I was fortunate enough not to listen to the critics that often.
Yeah.
I did listen to the critics. One of the biggest critics was me, myself, and I when I got to college. But I realized that this word, I can't, you've got to eliminate it. You got to eliminate it from your vocabulary. I can't is poisonous. I can't is debilitating. I can't is limiting. And as soon as you tell yourself you can't, your brain shuts off. Your mind doesn't go to where it can find the solution.
Preach, brother. Yes, sir.
So eliminate that word, I can't. What's interesting is John Assaraf says that by the time we're 17, we hear that word 150,000 times.
Wow. You
can't. And once I realized that, I'm like, oh my goodness. I taught high school and college for 17 years before I went out into the corporate world and spoke. And so once I realized that we hear that word, I can't, 150,000 times, I'm like, I want to change that. So when kids came to me, because it seemed like every time we went to work, I'm like, okay, let's open up your books, let's go to work. People are like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom, I gotta get a drink of water. You know, that was the trigger to take off. And I tell them, no, you can't leave. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to expect the same thing, but change my expectations. And so they come up like, hey, can I go get a glass of water? And I'm like, can I go get a drink? And I'm like, I look at my watch and I'm like, yes, you can in 45 minutes.
There you go.
They're like, can I go to the bathroom? I'm like, yes, you can, as soon as class is done. And so I would tell them what they can do instead of what they can't do. And that's what I've been trying to do with my kids as well. Is like, listen, you can do this. You can do this.
That's a powerful mind shift right there. My goodness, just that one simple word. Love it.
And so it's like flipping the switch. It's like just flipping the switch on how we think, flipping the switch on how we talk to ourselves, flipping the switch. And again, it's those small things. It's the small things that make the biggest difference, especially when you get to that elite level where you've been at, where you're coaching these athletes, that their physicality is pretty much the same.
That's right. That's right.
Their physicality is pretty much the same. You got big dudes, you got fast dudes, you got quick dudes, you be able to do people who can shoot. Like, dude, it's pretty equal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the difference is between their ears.
Amen. Amen.
And you don't have to be on a court to do those things. If you want to be in a courtroom, it's between your ears. Corporate world, between your ears. The boardroom, between your ears. An amazing mother, between the ears. A fantastic father, between the ears. If you, whatever it is that you want to do, it's between the ears. And then so this, going back to this possibility principle, this possibility principle is going to teach you that it's in the process and not the promise that helps you progress. But unfortunately, we as individuals, we abort the process and focus on the promise, and we never progress.
Yeah.
So if you're noticing here, there's a lot of things that are back and forth. You got to have a desire, you got to have a dream, and of course you got to do things as well. So that's why those three things right there, I believe, are at the foundation of every single one of our problems that's out there. And so, okay, well, how do we do this? How do we identify, how do I develop a desire? How do I identify my dream? And here's the beauty of it, Coach. There's all these gurus out there like, Dean Graziosi, Tony Robbins, Simon Sinek, and Brendan, all these people are like, hey, you gotta have a dream. You gotta have a dream. Zig Ziglar, love the man. And all these people are like, you gotta have a dream. But none of them that I know of teaches you how to dream weave, as I call it. So dream weave, 10 minutes. 10 minutes will change your life. 10 minutes that's all we need with you in order to dreamweave. We don't have time to do it on this show, but again, if you're interested, reach out to me. Be happy to give you that opportunity to dreamweave, because we have developed it. We've got 20 plus years of proven process in place that's going to help people identify what their dream is, because that's the number one problem out there. We don't know what we want. Again, and we base our possibilities on the unknown. We don't base our possibility on the unknown, but because of the unknown, we're like, you know what? I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't get this because it's unknown. And so unfortunately, we reject what we don't understand. And we base our possibilities on what we know. And if we don't know very much and we reject what we don't see, then here we are we're in this limbo where nothing's happening. And so that dream weaving, it just helps people identify exactly what they want. And it can happen in a split second. And so, fortunately, I had a song so loud, I kept on chasing down my dream. And one day after my senior year, I came home from practice and my little brother was jumping up and down, at the front door and said, hey, listen, it's here. And I'm like, what's here? And he's like, just go inside. And so I go inside, and there on the table was a letter from this school that I wanted to go to, the school that everyone told me I couldn't. The school that, had won a national championship, the school that, I'm from Northern Utah, and they bred them to hate them. They breed them to hate us, hate them down at BYU. And so here is this letter invited, to me. And I'm like, this can't be true. To make sure I wasn't dreaming or hallucinating, I touched the embossed helmet with my hand, opened up the envelope, pulled out the letter, and there was a letter addressed to me, the short, slow white guy from the legendary Hall of Fame coach, Lavelle Edwards.
Wow.
Invited me to come down to campus. And because I was told you can't so many times, that it's impossible, I took it to school the next day and I'm like, hey, did he give this to everybody?
I like it.
And I realized that he didn't give it to anybody else on the team. And so they tried to take me out of practice because they thought I was rubbing it in their face. But coach, I tasted the sweetness of success. I got to experience what it would be like to be, on the big stage, to be able to be on the field, to be able to smell, to taste, to touch, to hear, to feel, all that stuff on the field. And so as leaders of success and successful leaders, our job isn't just to get people to the stadium and to watch the game. As successful leaders and leaders of success, our job isn't just to get them to the stadium and down out of the stands and onto the sideline wearing a jersey. As leaders of success and successful leaders, it's our job not only to get them to the stadium and down onto the sideline, but out onto the field called life.
Amen. Preach that, buddy. Preach that.
Absolutely. And here's the deal. We are not playing. We're not playing. We're not playing this game called life. We're sitting on the sideline, or we're sitting in the stand, or we're sitting behind the TV. We're being a critic. We're being a quarterback, an armchair quarterback on Monday, criticizing everyone else who's playing. And the reason why we're not playing is because we don't have a dream. We don't know what we want. So we're just going to make fun of everyone else. We're going to criticize everyone else. That makes me feel better, right? Because I'm like, hey, yeah, you suck at that. I'm like, guess what, man? Play the game.
Right.
Play the game. And so, I learned so much. I learned so much chasing down my dreams and playing football in college. I tasted the sweetness of success. And I don't care what they tell you. They don't pay enough money to play football in college. And so I came home and started my own business. And I was from Cache Valley, and business was booming. I started my own business as a painter, not pictures, but buildings. And business was booming. I wanted to have enough money to go back and focus on football. I wanted to have enough money to go, get on my bullet bike and buy a bullet bike, because every time I saw a guy on a bullet bike, there's a lady on back. And I thought in small print, it said that girls are included. I'm like, I was not very good with the ladies. And so I'm like, that's what I need, is a bullet bike. How you doing? And and so things were going great. And I was at the tail end of the summer. Business was booming. 3 days later, and $3,000 richer, I'd have enough money to buy my bullet bike and go back to school from this lady who wanted me to come paint her barn in Preston, Idaho, Napoleon Dynamite country. And we get up early morning, put the equipment in the back of the truck. We head up to the construction site next to the barn. We pull out the level of scaffolding, and I have a 30-foot ladder, and we lean up the ladder up against the barn, not even close. So I take the ladder down. Now we have 2 levels of scaffolding, and then I hoist up the ladder and lean up against the barn. Can't reach the top, but I figured my sprayer can. So I asked my buddy to hold the ladder. He gets up there. He's afraid of heights. He's shaking. The ladder's rattling. I'm thinking to myself, maybe you shouldn't be up here. But what could go wrong? That's what a bunch of 21-year-olds think. He's a young man.
Invincible. Yeah.
What can go wrong? So I start climbing up the ladder, and halfway up the ladder, my buddy yells up to me. He's like, hey, Griff, I know how excited you are to go. Actually, it was me the first time I started climbing up there. I'm like, hey, Doug, we can relate this to life, step by step, precept upon precept. He's like, shut up, Griff, stop preaching to me. I'm like, okay, sorry. Kind of like perhaps maybe like right now, people are like, hey, Griff, stop preaching. Stop preaching, man. I was like, hey, keep preaching, man. Keep preaching. So I'm climbing up there. I get to the top, and I can't quite reach the top, but I figure my sprayer can. So I pull down on the lever. The paint just dribbles out. Pressure wasn't on. So I get back down to the ground, adjust the sprayer, make sure that it works. My buddy's able to breathe for the first time. And we get back up on the ladder. It's up on the scaffolding. I lift the ladder 1 notch higher so it's closer to the top, lean it up against the barn. I don't want to come back down until I'm finished with the top part of the barn. So I start climbing up the ladder. And this is when my buddy yells up to me. He's like, hey, Griff, I know how excited you are to go bungee jumping tonight, but I want to remind you that you don't have a cord. To get back at him, I'm like, shut up, Doug, stop preaching to me. And I get to the top. This time I can reach. This time I lift my arm above my head. I'm about to pull on that lever when that infamous feeling that you felt in grade school, when you're leaning back on your chair and your teacher tells you not to, and you're thinking to yourself, what could go wrong? And you go over, and your stomach up to your mouth and down to your legs, and it settles in your stomach again. I felt that feeling, and I dropped the sprayer, and I'm like, oh shit. I think I said shoot.
Yeah,
Let's just say I said, shoot, coach.
you did. That's what I heard.
That's exactly what I said. As the scaffolding ladder slipped out from underneath me and was starting to create a big, huge pile of scrap metal down below, at the top of the barn was some locked doors. And so I just jammed my thumb into that gap to try to hold on, and just pulled my thumb out and flayed the top part of my thumb off. And I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this problem. So as I'm coming down, there's a 1-inch ledge at the bottom of these loft doors. I'm like, that's my only latch. That's my only safety right here. And so as I come down, I reach out and grab onto that ledge, and I dig my fingernails into the ledge, and I'm just holding on as hard, as strong as I can. Because in my mind, I'm like, this is how I problem solved back then. My problem wasn't falling, and this was how I solved it. I'm like, if I hold on long enough, my buddy's able to get the scaffolding back up, get the ladder back up, position it just right so I can come back down. All I gotta do is just hold on. Some of your listeners might be thinking, that's what's happening with me right now. I'm just holding on, hoping for something else to come along or whatnot. And, I wasn't strong enough because of the pull of gravity and the weight of my body. It caused my fingers to pop off the ledge. And so my fingers popped off the ledge, and I kept going down closer to that big pile of scrap metal down below. I frantically scrambled up back up tried to scramble back up the barn, and it didn't happen. I can't, withstand gravity, the laws of the universe. No matter how much I desire it, couldn't do it. And I realized I don't remember doing that as much as I realized that I did it when I had a chance to examine my wounds in the hospital. I noticed that there were paint chips and wood splinters jammed underneath my fingernails. Desperation. I was just scrambling and trying to solve this problem. And at that very, very moment, I realized that when we cut corners, it leads nowhere but down.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's what I did with my foundation. I cut corners. Here I am trying to get the job done quick, get it over with, do what I'm doing. I cut corners. We do that all the time, coach. We do it all the time where we're cutting corners, where we're laying the foundation, and it's not solid. We're just cutting corners left and right. We're lying to ourselves, and we're telling us that we're doing okay. We're telling us that we're okay. We're telling ourselves that it's going to be okay. I'll figure out when it happens. I'll rise to the occasion. We don't rise to the occasion. We drop to what's natural. We drop to what we're familiar with.
Yeah.
And so in last ditch desperation, I'm like, okay, one more thought. I'm like, I haven't hit yet. And, the thought came to my mind, stop, drop, and roll. I know it's a fire drill, but I'm going to stop. I'm going to drop, I'm going to roll. I had practiced it hundreds of times on the trampoline. As my brother sets me sailing into the air, I'd drop and I'd break my fall and I'd roll. Same thing, same concept. I'm going to stop, drop, and roll. So as soon as I thought that thought, I looked down to the ground to gauge myself. And as soon as I looked down, I hit. Straight-legged. If I was a gymnast, it would have been a perfect landing. But I was a painter. So my legs came up, my back came down, and my L1 vertebrae exploded inside me. It felt like an underground cavernous explosion had taken place. And as I fell to the ground, I grabbed onto my leg to alleviate the pain. The pain just coursed down my legs, down my arms, out my fingertips and toes. I felt like it just exploded off. The pain was just excruciating. So to alleviate it, I reached down to grab my leg to grab onto it. That was the first time that I realized that my hands could feel my legs, but my legs could not feel my hands. So my dreams of playing football, in an instant, over. My dreams of riding a motorcycle with a lady on back, done. I've fallen 40 feet. My dreams of playing on the big stage, not just 2 times, but playing on the big stage, had shattered along with my broken back. And, I didn't realize it at the time. I was hoping it was just a stinger. I was hoping that it would come back. It wasn't until I got to the hospital that they confirmed my fears. But I remember lying on my back, and my buddy comes over to me and he starts shaking me. He's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, flopping on the ground. I'm like, "I don't think you should be doing that," shaking me. And I remember voicing my fears for the first time out loud. And I'm like, "Doug, I think I'm paralyzed. He's like, you
Mm.
can't. And I'm like, no, I think I'm paralyzed. Go call the ambulance. And so he left me. He left me next to that unpainted barn. I'd fallen 40 feet. My dreams of playing football were, done, gone. Riding a motorcycle, over. I'm looking at the sky and I'm thinking, what now?
Mm.
What's next? I didn't know for certain exactly what had happened, but my question for your listeners is this, Coach. When we're faced with difficult challenges or major setbacks, where do we go to? We don't rise to the occasion. We drop to what we're familiar with. We drop to what's natural. You're a coach, you press another team, you press them to find out how good they are with pressure and with a challenge, to see how well they've prepared and planned. You can't rise to the occasion. Defensive coordinators, they blitz the quarterback to find out how well the quarterback has planned and prepared.
Yep. Push them to an uncomfortable zone or to where they're not comfortable, because their proficiency and efficiency is going to go down because they're not in their comfort zone any longer.
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't rise to the occasion. We drop to our comfort zone. We drop to what is natural. And so what do you do when you're faced with difficult challenges or major setbacks? Because they're going to be major setbacks and they're going to be difficult challenges. I don't know if your dreams have been slipped out from underneath you just like mine. I don't know if you've prepared your foundation to where it was slippery and it was wet and it was just shoddy and you fail. I don't know if you self-sabotage your own dreams, but whatever it is, if you haven't experienced a major challenge and a difficult setback, you're going to.
Yeah. And
so how are you going to deal with that major setback and difficult challenge? And here's the beauty of it, Coach. From 2020 till now, from today, we've been dealt a big major challenge.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to mention that word or whatnot, but what's interesting here is pressure. When pressure is applied, we find out what we're made out of. And I love the law of the harvest, because we reap what we sow. Yep. And if you don't like the results you've been getting lately, well, guess what? Maybe it's what you've sown from all these times. But I love the law of the harvest because, and nature fruit is true to its nature. So, Coach, if I apply pressure to an apple, what's going to come out?
The seed, the juice.
The seed will eventually come out, but juice will come out first, right?
Yeah.
So you apply pressure to an apple, boom, juice comes out. You apply pressure to a pineapple juice comes out. You apply pressure to a pear juice comes out. But what's interesting here is a lot of us, expect, we plant potatoes and we expect pineapple. And pineapple takes 3 years, I guess, to grow and whatnot. But this idea of, okay, you apply pressure to a fruit, juice is coming out. We know exactly what juice is coming out because fruit is true to its nature. When we apply pressure to a human juice comes out too. But what comes out is what's been put in.
Amen.
So if you don't like the results you've been getting lately, look at what you've been putting in. So going back to that possibility principle that I've been sharing with you this whole time, the possibility principle not only helps you with your desires and your dreams, it not only helps you with what success is, failure, and what failure isn't. And it's not just about the process, because the process is important. You got to have a process in place. I call that the daily dime. Don't have time to hit that, but the daily dime is what really helps us with that self-talk, helps us with the change, helps us with the consistency, because we, like a dog going back to his vomit, we want to go back to what we're comfortable, going back to what's, we're used to. And so again, you got to have that daily dime in play. But as you mentioned, Coach, we've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yep.
Because it's in the stretch where we find the strength. It's in the struggle that we find the motivation. And what's interesting is we find the resilience in the challenge.
Mm.
And we as parents and other people, and, we take away the challenges from our kids. And what we're doing is we're taking away this opportunity for them to experience resilience, to grow and to become,
grow, evolve,
their challenges and their setbacks. And so absolutely, positively, we need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Stretch yourself, push yourself, go beyond your limits, go beyond your capacity, because you're only hitting about 20%. At least that's what the Navy's.
If that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm on my back. The doctors, the EMTs get me to the hospital. They take a picture of my back. They confirm my fears. And they gave me a 0% chance of ever walking, standing with my legs. I enter into that sauna, syrupy sauna self-pity. And as I mentioned before, there was a question that was asked to me by a prisoner there at the hospital who's going through therapy as well, that set me free from my prison. Now I could say that you got to go get my book to find out what that question is, but I'm not going to. I'm going to give you this nugget. I'm telling you this, it was amazing. I'm having this pity party. I'm feeling sorry for myself. They're not feeding me in bed anymore. So I got to get out of my bed. It takes me a half an hour to put my body brace on to get out of bed with the aid of 2 nurses. Everything's a struggle. Everything's uncomfortable. Everything is a challenge. And I get into my wheelchair and I start rolling down the sterile halls of the hospital, and tears start to well up in my eyes. And I get to the cafeteria and I grab my tray and grip my food, and I want to be by myself. You know how you're feeling that pain? You're like, I just want to be alone. And that's the worst thing that could happen for us, is to be alone, because we need each other.
Yeah.
We need a team. We need a support system. So I'm getting my food and I go in the corner of the cafeteria. I put my tray down. I'm flavoring my food with my tears. I don't want to be bothered, and this tray just plops right down in front of me. And I look at that dude, and he looks at me, and I was about to have some words with him that I can't say on your show here. And he's looking at me and I'm looking at him, and he asks the question that changed my life. In his slurred speech, because he was paralyzed, aneurysm in his brain, paralyzed on the right side of his body, he asked the question that changed my life forever. And the question was, why are you crying, dude? And I'm like, what? Why are you crying, dude? And I finally recognized what he was saying in his slurred speech. He was asking me the question, why are you crying, dude? That question right there flipped my switch.
Flip the switch.
Why are you crying, dude? Why are you focusing on your problems? The problem isn't the problem, because we all have problems. The problem isn't the problem. It's how we look at that problem. It's how we approach that problem. It's how we deal with that problem. It's how we approach it. And instead of a problem, we look at it as an opportunity. My mother had a little sticky note on her computer. She grew up in between the Great Depression and World War II. And she learned life lessons knee deep in cow poop as she's shoveling it and trying to, fill up the wheelbarrow and go out there to place on their crops. And when I was her age, I walked into her office, and on her computer was a sticky note. And on that sticky note says, problems are like manure. They sure do stink, but they certainly help things grow.
Ooh, like that, Jeff. I like that. Hey, we got about 3 minutes left.
Yes,
this is powerful.
Absolutely. And so we're gonna wrap this up. And so in my 10-year-old mind, I'm like, okay, take your crap and turn it into a crop. Take your crap and turn it into a crop. Dudes, take your problems, take your challenges, take your discomfort, and flip the switch and use it as a yield. Use it as fertilization. Use it as fuel to expand your yield of what you want with that dream. And so dream, desire, and of course do. And I want to end with this, Coach.
Bring
that
it.
Possibility principle. I came out of that sauna, and I've never gone back. I've never looked back. I focus on what I can do instead of what I can't do. And Angela Duckworth, in her book called Grit, she talks about how gritty people are hopeful people. I love that book. I love everything she says about it, except for this thing. I think she has it upside down, because I believe hopeful people are gritty people. And for me, hope means the ability to reach out to the future and grab onto your dreams and bring it back to the present in spite of your past. in spite of your setbacks, in spite of your challenges, in spite of all those failures that you've had in the past. And so again, going back to this little simple tool here, I'm possible, desire, dream, do. There are steps, mile markers in there to help you identify your dream, increase your desire, and take those steps that will help you climb your mountains that are in front of you. And be that Sherpa of sorts. You know, I'm kind of like the Sherpa of sorts to help you climb to the top of your Mount Everest. So again, grab that book if you haven't. Go to YouTube and take a look at Mountains to Climb by Jeff Griffin. And you can see where I'm at today in 2022 and what we've done. I'll give you a hint. 9,711 feet. That's your hint.
Woo! I know where you're going with that, my man. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, my buddy, a support system for me, Mr. Jeff Griffin. I've got chills listening to how you share your story. I implore the viewers of this show, the listeners of this podcast, to please go out and do yourself a service by purchasing this book, investing in yourself, and giving you the pathway and a blueprint to becoming a better you, to get over the analysis of paralysis and all the negative thinking that you feed yourself. Start feeding yourself positive things. Talk to yourself positively. Put yourself in motion and be like my man, Jeff Griffin. Jeff, you are amazing. Guys, look him up on social media. Hire him to speak to your teams, to your communities, to your companies. This guy will help you reach goals that you had no idea you could meet. What is your Everest? What do you want to attain? Jeff Griffin will help you find it. Jeff, God bless you. I love you. You are the best, my brother.
Love you, Coach. Thank you.
Gosh, that was good stuff.
You make it easy, brother.
My man, that was just phenomenal.